which means we now know basically the entire order for the NFL draft. So in today's video, we are going to be doing an updated first round mock draft for the 2026 NFL draft. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new and do go on to enjoy. Let's hop into it. All right, so as you guys can see, we are on the PFF mock draft simulator. I have updated the order here to where it should fit everything perfectly. If I made a mistake, well, sue me. Anyways, first overall, you got the Las Vegas Raiders. Fernando Mendoza will be the #1 pick, barring Fernando, I don't know, doing drugs before, but even then, he might fit perfectly with Las Vegas. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think anything's going to happen. He seems like a good, chill guy who's going to test well. He should be the #1 pick. All right, number 2 is really where the draft, for me at least, starts, because there's a couple of different ways the Jets could go here. Obviously, the favorite right now would be Arvell Reese, who checks a lot of boxes for this Jets team, a guy that can play that off-ball linebacker role, a guy that can give them some juice as a pass rusher. A couple of different ways you can use him, but I also think guys like Caleb Downs makes a ton of sense. Even some pass rushers make some sense. A receiver obviously checks a lot of boxes, but I'm just gonna go with Arvell Reese. We kind of explained why I like him a lot. I think a team that takes him, which probably will be the Jets, they're gonna have to have a game plan for him, whether it's that they want him to be used in both positions, or do they want him just to be an edge, or want him to be a linebacker. I think if Aaron Glenn's there for the long haul, he would know how to use Arvell. All right, 3, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Again, this is another pick here where it can honestly be a variety of different things. You could go Jeremiah Love, because this team could really use a running back. You could go Ruben Bain or David Bailey to give them another pass rusher opposite of Sweat. Hell, you can even talk yourself into one of these offensive linemen. I think Spencer Fano is a good player. I think Francis is a good football player. Either one of those check a lot of boxes. But when you have a top 5 pick, to me, you just go best player available in a position of need. And I think Ruben Bain Jr. has cemented himself as one of those guys. His playoff run versus Ohio State, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and I even think against Indiana, he was unbelievable in those games, just constantly putting those guys under duress. His body type, the versatility he has, paired up opposite of Sweat, I think checks a lot of boxes. So let's go with Ruben Bain Jr. here for the Cardinals. All right, number 4, we have the Tennessee Titans, who just brought in Robert Saleh. And if we know Robert Saleh, we know the body types he likes to go for. I think David Bailey makes a lot of sense for this team. Now, you could make the argument that he would be wiser to go with the receiver here because he does have his young quarterback. Why not try to build up an offense first? But I think if you're Robert Saleh, you want to at least get some guys that can play on your football team. You have Tavondre, you have Jeffrey Simmons, you have Cedric Gray. You got some dudes in the back end you feel okay with. This defense, with the right coach and with the right offseason, could be really good. My guess is they're going to focus the draft on the defense and the offseason with their cap space on the offense, but it also could be vice versa. I'm going to go with David Bailey here. Give them an absolute, just complete dominant edge that has, 15 sacks this year, elite productivity. This guy, to me, is the full package of a pass rusher. He's not the best against the run, but I still think he's good enough against the run to where he can handle and hold his own. This is a pass rusher. He's going to be a dominant pass rusher in the league. All right, number 5, we got the New York Giants, and with the way the board has fallen here, I think Giants fans would be pretty happy with this. You got your choice of the 2 top receivers. You could go Caleb Downs. You can still look at one of these offensive tackles, again, Fano and Maui-Goa. A lot of ways you can go here, but I am ultimately going to go ahead and get a receiver here. I think I've done this in the past, but I'm going to go with Carnell Tate. To me, he just checks a lot of boxes. I think him paired up with Neighbors would make for a 1-2 duo that I really like. I do think Tyson's the better football player. I would rather have Tyson on my team if the injuries work out. But that's the big thing here. If I'm the New York Giants and if I'm Harbaugh, I don't really know if I want to spend a top 5 pick on a guy that we don't know if he's going to be able to stay on the field. So it's a tough kind of sell for me on Jordan Tyson, especially in New York, knowing that stadium, knowing the turf they play on. I'm going to take Carnell Tate here, who doesn't really have an extensive injury history. All right, 6, we got the Browns. They need a receiver. They need an offensive lineman. I think the receiver class is actually pretty decent this year. And if I'm the Browns, I really have to shore up this offensive line as soon as possible. So I'm going to take the top offensive lineman here, which to me is going to be Spencer Fano. I think you kick him to tackle. I think he can play guard. If you prefer taking Tyson here, that checks a lot of boxes, but I'm going to go ahead and take the offensive tackle here in Spencer Fano and start to retool that offensive line. I might double down and take 2 offensive linemen for the Browns in this draft. All right, 7, we have the Washington Commanders, and Caleb Downs is here. This Commanders team has so many different needs. I feel like the safety class is actually really, really good this year to where you can afford to pass on Downs, which I know is crazy to think about, but Halsey's a good player, Thieneman's a good player, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's a good player, Ramsey's good, Zaki's good, Genesis is underrated. There's a ton of these guys down here that are really good football players. Bud Clark, Cole, Peyton Bowen down there is a really good football player too. Like, there's just a lot of safety talent in this class to where I'm going to look at a different position And for me, I kind of like the idea of taking Jordan Tyson here. I know there's injuries and I know that's terrifying, but outside of Terry McLaurin, like, what do you have? Especially if Debo leaves this team, which might happen, might not happen. But even if you do lose him, like, what are your weapons looking like for Jaden Daniels, right? It would literally just be Terry McLaurin, who's also now in his 30s and, had a down year last year because of injuries and things like that. I think I'm going to take Jordan Tyson here. Now, if you want to go corner, if you want to go downs, I completely understand, but I've done those picks so many times on different mock drafts. So let's switch it up a little bit here. Let's take Jordan Tyson for the Commanders and see how that affects the board here. Give Jaden Daniels some more weapons on that offense. Tyson has the ability to be his #1 receiver for many, many years if he can stay healthy. Big if. All right, 8, we got the New Orleans Saints, and I think I'm just going to go with Francis Mauigoa. With the way the board fell, I mean, you're not going to be able to take one of the 2 top pass rushers. I'm not going to reach on the next best one. Like, I like Falk, I like Cassius. This is way, way, way too early for me. Peter Woods, I know that if I took Peter Woods, Saints fans would probably throw a riot. Jeremiah Love, yeah, that makes some sense, but I think they have like 3 or 4 young running backs that they're not RB1s, but I think they can get the job done. So I don't know. I think if you're the Saints, and I'm not saying their situation is the same as Las Vegas, but there are some things you can kind of point and say, like, this happened, and we all know what happened with Ashton Genty. If the Saints took Jeremiah Love, I think Jeremiah Love would have a ton of success in his rookie year, unlike Ashton Genty, but I think the Saints might be a little bit cautious with that one. Let us go ahead and just take Francis Mauigoa. We'll kick him inside to play guard. Obviously, he's not going to play tackle for this team, but I think he's a really good guard prospect. And hell, if Banks or if Fuanga go down, or maybe you just want to kick Fuanga inside, then I think Francis can play tackle too. So yeah, Francis here for the Saints. Number 9 for the Chiefs. This board honestly fell perfectly for them because Jeremiah Love checks a lot of boxes. Caleb Downs checks a lot of boxes. Peter Woods checks a ton of boxes too. The 2 top corners are also on the board. Like, this board fell really, really nicely for the Chiefs. I'm going to take Jeremiah Love here. I think this offense is at its best when it is a balanced offensive attack, when they can rely on the run game, get those safeties, get more guys in the box, and then Patrick Mahomes can start taking some shots down the field. I'm gonna go Jeremiah Love here for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are going to try and continue to contend. As long as Mahomes is there, they're going to be going for their championship window. Love continues to fit into that championship window. It's the weird time where a top 10 team legitimately has a championship window, by the way, that is open immediately when you take a player. All right, 10, we got the Bengals here. No doubt in my mind, I'm taking Caleb Downs. I mean, he might be the best player in this draft class. I love Jeremiah Love a little bit more, but I think Caleb Downs is right there with him. Just a complete and utter dominant player. He's basically been the same guy since his rookie year, but if you drafted him after his first freshman year at Bama, he still would have been a first-round pick. That's how good this guy is. And I think for a team in Cincinnati that could just use difference makers in the back end and just use difference makers in general, I think it checks a lot of boxes. All right, Miami is up at number 11. I feel like the board is always, generally speaking, about the same here. Like, I feel like in any order, these are going to be your top 10 guys. I would be quite shocked if somebody else made it here. Maybe Mekhi Lemon makes it in. I could see that. Maybe one of the corners gets in, but I have a feeling that these guys right here are going to be taken within the top 10 to top 12. So I feel like Miami is going to be, kind of limited with their board a little bit here, but, you could argue Peter Woods next to Kenneth Grant checks a lot of boxes. Adding a guy like a Mekhi Lemon next to Jalen Waddle is cool. Jermod, Mansour. I like the idea of Keldrick Fogg. I'm not going to lie. When me and B-Ross, he's my co-host on First and 10, by the way, First and 10, check it out. We were reacting to Mel Kiper, and I believe it was Mel Kiper or somebody, maybe it was PFF, but they did Keldrick Fogg to Miami Dolphins, and at first I was like, I don't like that, but then the more I thought about it and sat on it, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Right? You already have Chop Robinson. You have Kenneth Grant, but you need another dude that can get after the quarterback a little bit while also being stout against the run. With their new head coach, Jeff Hafley, who I think is going to try and build this defense up, I don't think he's going to really prioritize secondary guys. I think he's going to want to prioritize the offensive line and the defensive line. And with the way the board has fallen here with the Dolphins, where their 2 top offensive linemen are not here, I wonder if they would just lean on the next best defensive prospect on the defensive line. I'm going to go Keldrick Falk here. I just think his size, his ability to stuff the run, his upside as a pass rusher, and then you pair that with Chop, who Chop is very much a DPR guy. I think that makes a nice, fun little duo there that maybe you can make the argument that Jeff Hafley could make that sort of turn into a Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons deal, or if you're a Cowboys fans, a Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence deal. So obviously we'll see if they can develop into being Micah and DeMarcus or Micah and Rashawn, but maybe that's kind of the prototype you're looking for. Let's go Keldrick Falk there for the Miami Dolphins. All right, Dallas is up at number 12. I think they're going to go heavy, heavy, heavy in the secondary and linebacking core. I see a lot of people do Sonny Styles for this team, and I like Sonny Styles a lot. He's my number 2 linebacker. I just don't know if he's the best fit for Dallas. Like, I think Dallas truly needs a CJ Allen / Anthony Hill / Jake Galladay type of guy. Somebody that can be your strong side linebacker, somebody that can play the Sam position or, you know, the Mike position. I feel like Sonny's best set if he's playing that weak side linebacker spot, because he's 6'5", 243, but he can get hurt quite often by offensive linemen. I've even seen tight ends block this guy. I think I'm going to lean towards a corner here. Again, I want to see this secondary get much better. You have Bland, kick him inside to play the nickel. You have Savon Ravel that you're still very high on, obviously. You need somebody else, though. I mean, you cannot go into the year with Kaiir Elam being the guy. You just cut Trevon Diggs. I'm going to take, this one's tough because Mansour, I think, is an excellent football player, but I almost wonder if he's kind of too small for Dallas, because Savon is kind of this lanky guy, and Deron Bland is a trash can against the run. I kind of wonder if the physicality of Jermod McCoy, who is also not the biggest guy in the world, but I think he's a bit more physical, checks the boxes. But the injury history for Jermod is questionable. Let's go Mansour to Lane. If Jermod has a good offseason and looks comfortable and he's moving around well, then maybe you could take him there, but I do worry about that injury. Well, I mean, he's not going to fall much farther because at 13, you got the Rams, and they have to address secondary. Like, I think they should spend probably their 2 first-round picks on the secondary. Let's take Jermod McCoy here. He just checks so many boxes if the injury is good. If he's okay injury-wise, I think he checks so many boxes for that team. 14, we got the Ravens. I don't hate the idea of Peter Woods here. A lot of questions on that interior defensive line. Peter Woods steps in and instantly, to me, is an instant contributor. There's other pieces here too. I love Caden McDonald. I love his ability to stuff the run. I think Caleb Banks has a ton of upside. You could even go corner. You can go receiver. I mean, I don't love the idea of Makai next to Zay. I feel like that's a little bit just redundant size-wise, but Denzel Boston checks a couple boxes. 6'4", 209, can win down the field, good route runner. This one's a tough pick. I think I'm going to go Peter Woods, but I definitely would consider Denzel Boston here. All right, 15, the Bucks, really easy pick. Is if Sonny Styles is on the board here, it's going to continue to be Sonny Styles. They have to get better in the front 7 on the defense. Let's go Sonny Styles here, who upgrades the linebacking core for the Buccaneers. All right, Jets are up at 16. They went with Arvell Reese. I wonder if with this spot they would consider Ty Simpson. I think they would have to at least consider him here, but they also have a top pick in the second round. I think it's the 33rd pick or something like that. I think it is 33. So hypothetically, maybe they could make a trade up to get that Ty Simpson pick around here, especially if Pittsburgh passes on him. But it is going to be the question for the Jets. Are they worried about the Steelers taking Ty Simpson? I think we'll get more clarity on that the closer we get to the actual draft. For now, we don't know, so I'm not going to panic and take Ty Simpson yet. If I'm the Jets in this situation, as of right now, I just want to kind of hear what's happening in Pittsburgh, because if Pittsburgh steps up and Mike McCarthy says, I want Ty Simpson, which we'll get to that here in a second, but then I think you take him here. But if you feel okay that Pittsburgh's going to pass on Ty, then you can wait to your second round pick and maybe make a trade up so you have that 5th-year option. But we're going to pass on him here and take Makai Lemon. Makai Lemon next to Garrett Wilson. I mean, obviously, Garrett can play on the inside, but he can also play a lot on the outside. Same with Makai. You can just kind of rotate these guys around. Just give whoever might play quarterback for that team next year, maybe it's Malik Willis, maybe it's Mac Jones, whoever, give them an opportunity to have offensive pieces and offensive weapons, and they should have some cap space to address the defense. So let's go with that for the Jets. All right, 17, we got the Detroit Lions. I love the idea of Caden McDonald for this team. I'm not the highest on Cassius Howell. I know this team doesn't really care too much about arm length, given the fact that Aiden Hutchinson has a ton of arm length issues, but I just feel like Cassius is not the same type of player that Hutch was, because Hutch was so well put together. He just had shorter arms, but even then, it wasn't that big of a deal. You can see Cassius at times when he goes up against these better offensive linemen, he struggles in those games. That game versus Texas where he goes up against Gooseby, like Gooseby kicked his ass the entire day. I'm just not the highest on Cassius, especially here at 17. I like the idea of Caden McDonald a lot too. I mean, they have like a ton of questions with the interior defensive line. Caden McDonald next to Tyleek. I think Caden's a bit better. I mean, checks a couple boxes to me. You can also talk to me into Caden Proctor and as well as Caleb Lomu. Lomu just instantly steps in at left tackle and, you know, fits in perfectly. But Proctor, I think, plays guard. And then you have to play Tate Ratledge at center. I wonder if taking Proctor, because he's not a tackle. I just think he's too big. I mean, he's a massive, just 6'7", 366. He just doesn't have the foot speed. I just wonder if having him kicked into guard and then having to kick your guard into center is just asking a lot for your team. Let's go Caden McDonald here, and then with the second round, they can address offensive line, or maybe they do that in the offseason. Let's go Caden McDonald. All right, Vikings up at 18. Obviously, running back is a big time need here, but I feel like you're okay with running back. You're not taking one round one. They need a center. I think the guy they brought in last year is probably gonna retire, so you need that. Interior defensive line is also a big time need, so Banks is in play here, but I think secondary might be what they would go for. They also need a safety as well, by the way. But as I talked a bit earlier about the Caleb Downs conversation, there's a number of really good safety prospects this year, so I think I lean Caleb Banks here. I know that there's a ton of questions with, him because he just has such a small sample size. But if it pans out and he's healthy this offseason, I could check it. You know what? Actually, I'm kind of talking myself out of it. Let's go corner here. I think I'm going to lean towards Avion Terrell. I think I'm going to go Avion Terrell here for the Minnesota Vikings. 19, we got the Panthers. Obviously, if Sonny Styles is on the board, Mekhi Levin's on the board, that makes a ton of sense. He's not, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I might go with CJ Allen here. Let's see what their second round pick is. They have the 51st pick. I wonder if they would maybe just take Cassius Howell here, and then with their round 2 pick, take a Lawson, Trotter, or Galladay. It's a bit risky, to be honest with you, because I think all CJ, Anthony, Jake, Deontay, Josiah have a good chance of all being off the board by 51. And I don't love the board after Trotter. Like, York is a great football player, but he's 5'10". He's tiny. That's tough, especially in a second round pick. I wonder if you just take CJ Allen here and say we have to get better in the linebacking room, and CJ Allen's a massive upgrade. I wonder if that's what they would consider here. But they also have to get some disruptors on the defensive line. Let's take Cassius here. Give them some juice off the edge. A legitimate DPR, a guy that can really go after it. And then round 2, maybe Trotter will be there. Maybe Lawson will be there. It's a little risky, but you know what? Sometimes you risk it for the biscuits. Maybe they could trade up if the board starts to thin out. All right, Dallas is up at 20. We took Mansour Delane, and to me, this pick is really easy. I'm going CJ Allen here. I like Anthony Hill a little bit better because I think he's better in coverage, but I think you're paying your linebackers to get downhill and stuff the run and be a dog. None other than the actual Georgia Bulldog in CJ Allen, who is just an absolute behemoth in the run game. Still growing as a coverage guy, but again, you're drafting him to get downhill and be physical against the run and clog up holes. And I think that's what CJ Allen would do for that team. All right, 21, you got the Steelers. Obviously, Ty Simpson should be in conversations here. I wonder if McCarthy would take Ty. I really do, because when you look at who McCarthy has worked with, obviously Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. Dak's a bigger guy with a big arm. Rodgers is a bigger guy with a big arm. Rodgers is not the biggest guy in the world, but bigger than Ty Simpson. Ty is like 6 foot, 6'1". Good arm. I wouldn't call it an elite arm. I just feel like McCarthy would feel like he has stability here for at least a year, to where he can see what Will Howard has, let him play, give him an opportunity to start for the job and see how that works out. And they have to get that offense some more pieces. Let's look at receiver here. I think I'm going to lean with KC Concepcion or Denzel here. I just think they're the best two, although I do like Omar Cooper. I love Jeremy Bernard. I like Elijah Surratt, those Indiana guys, some studs. I know Branch is flying up people's boards. I'm not the highest on Branch, but I can definitely see why people like him. Let's go with, I kind of think I'm going to go with KC here. Just a different body type from DK. Yeah, let's go KC right here. Different body type than DK. I think that works out a little bit better because DK is your big body, going downfield guy. KC's a little bit of even it's not small. He's 5'11", 190. More possession guy, good after the catch, can do a variety of different things in the slot and on the outside. All right, 22, we got the Chargers. This one is probably the easiest pick of the entire draft up to this point, besides Fernando. Let's go with the offensive guard here from Penn State, Oliva Vega Ione, who fills in immediately at guard. You have your 2 tackles. They have to completely reset that interior of their offensive line. It was so bad this year. And when those tackles went out, that offensive line was a crapshoot. So let's shore up the offensive line. Let's get some guys in free agency. Let's bring in a draft pick. Let's get these tackles healthy. Let's help Justin Herbert stay upright. 23, you have the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is always a tough pick for me because I just never really know where to go with this one. Because if A.J. Brown leaves, then I'm taking Denzel Boston, right? He's just an absolute stud. But realistically speaking, is A.J. going to leave? I don't think so, right? And then it's like they say their biggest need is tight end, but if they bring back Dallas Goedert, tight end's not that big of a need for them. So Sadiq here would just kind of be another pass catcher, but at the same time, like, they have so many good pass catchers. Like, what would be the point in that? I like the idea of TJ Parker here. Different body type from a Nolan Smith and a Jalen Phillips. So if you bring back Jalen Phillips, which we'll have to wait and see on that one, I think that makes some sense. I also like the idea of Caden Proctor. They had a ton of success with Mekhi Becton. I mean, Caden Proctor is very similar size-wise, a big-ass dude, physical, can push people in the run game. I think for Philadelphia, that makes a lot of sense. And maybe long-term, he could be your play at right tackle with the Lane Johnson retirement looming large over the next few years. Let's go Proctor here. We'll start him off at right guard or maybe left guard, wherever they want to put him at. And then future, he might be your right tackle of the future. 24, we got the Browns. We took Spencer Fano, which I'm very happy we did because this worked out great for them. Denzel Boston's available here, which I don't think is going to be the case in the actual draft. I think Denzel Boston might actually be a top 15 pick. Like, I think he can work his way into that conversation, but he happened to fall on this one. So let's take Denzel Boston here for the Browns. What a draft for the Browns so far. Chicago's at 25. I feel like I do these two picks every single year. It's Banks or TJ Parker, or every single mock draft, I should say. I like TJ a little bit more. Just think he's a bit more proven, a guy that can come off the edge, good size, good length. I feel like he is kind of your prototypical style that you're going to see this Bears defensive line go for as long as Dennis Allen is there. Let's go TJ Parker. All right, Bills up at 26. I'm sure they're pissed about Denzel not making it to them. If Chris Bell was healthy, I would actually consider Chris Bell here, but he's not healthy, and I don't know when he's going to be healthy. Elijah Surratt makes a ton of sense. I feel like they would hope he makes it to their second round pick. I don't know if he does. I think he's a stud, but I also feel like you got to get a little bit better off the edge here, and Akeem Mesidor makes a lot of sense here. He can get after the quarterback. He's also very sound against the run. He's got size. He is a bit of an older prospect, but let's be honest here. The Bills are a team that are trying to win now. Like, they're not going to sit around and wait. They're trying to go all in. I think I might go Akeem here. The receiving board just didn't go the way I wanted it to. And again, if Chris Bell was healthy, he just tore his ACL. So I can't take him here with the first round. Let's go ahead and take Akeem Mesidor here for the Buffalo Bills. All right, 27, you got the Niners. A lot of ways you can go here. You could go with a pure pass rusher. I feel like I took the last round one guy. Maybe R. Mason Thomas could check a couple boxes. I'm not the highest on R. Mason, but you could argue he makes some sense as it's just a pure DPR. Him and Michael and Nick Bosa. I think that could be quite fun. Receiving board, again, if Chris Bell's healthy, then we can talk about it, but that's a tough injury right there. You drafted into your guys last year. Maybe you go Kenyon Sadiq here. I think I've done that in a past mock draft, but George Kittle tore his Achilles, which means he's probably not playing next year. And even if he does, Kittle's not getting any younger. I know they have some other tight ends they're okay with, but I don't think any of them are as talented or as much of a receiving threat as Kenyon is. Plus, you do need receivers, but again, the receiving board is weak right now. I wonder if they would consider Kenyon Sadiq here. Right now, the pick comes down to either Kenyon or Caleb, because Caleb, I think, is your long-term play at left tackle. Maybe he plays guard the first year, but I'm going to go Kenyon Sadiq. I'm going to go Kenyon Sadiq here, and I'm not going to take you guys' time up too much here. I'm going to go Caleb Lomu for the Houston Texans. Gives them some flexibility with Ariante Ursary. Maybe they want to switch him to right tackle, have Caleb play left. Maybe they want to kick Ursary inside to play guard. Let's go Lomu, and we'll figure out our best five in that offensive line for Houston. 29, we got the LA Rams, and we took Jermon McCoy. Man, I might just take his teammate in Colton Hood. I might just do it. Just double down in corners. Just give them some athleticism. Give them some coverage skills. Ooh, Brandon Cisse, though. You know what? I'm going to go Brandon Cisse because Cisse is a bit more athletic, a little bit more rangier. Not as fluid in coverage as Colton Hood, but I still think has a ton of upside. Like, Keith Abney's a better player today, but he's not the athlete that Cisse is. And Cisse, like, the Rams need athletes in their secondary. Let's go Brandon Cisse there for the Los Angeles Rams, doubling down on corner for them. I mean, if you watch the NFC Championship game, I think it makes some sense. All right, 30, you got the Broncos, who probably wished Kenyon Sadiq was there, but unfortunately did not flow their way. Running backs could need offensive line. We can wait on that. Let's go linebacker. Let's take Anthony Hill. I think he has an upside as a pass rusher. I know that defensive line for Denver's really good, but there are some guys with free agency decisions coming up. So Anthony Hill just makes a lot of sense for that team. He's such a good football player. 31, you got the Patriots. They got to protect Drake May. Let's go with Emmanuel Pregnon. I like Monroe Freeling. I do. I think he can play tackle in the NFL. I think he can play guard in the NFL level. I just feel like it's a little early for him to be a first-round guy. Pregnon, I know what I'm getting in Pregnon, which is just a really solid, older player for the NFL draft at least. But I know he's going to be a very solid guard for many years. And lastly, we have the Seahawks, which, by the way, congrats to the Patriots. Congrats to the Seahawks for making it to the freaking Super Bowl. Unbelievable. Do they have any needs? Not really. Maybe you want to replace Josh Jobe with like Colton Hood. That could make some sense. You also have Tariq Woolen, who made one of the stupidest plays and got cooked the very next play in the NFC Championship game. It didn't cost them, but it definitely didn't help his case. I mean, they don't really have a ton of needs. Like, their interior offensive line got significantly better as the year went along. Linebacker, I mean, sure, maybe, but not with the board the way it is now. You can wait on that at your, what should be your second round pick. Let's go with, it's between Keith Abney or Colton Hood. I feel like McDonald would prefer Hood. I think he's just a little bit of a better athlete than Abney. So let's go Colton Hood here for the Seattle Seahawks. But you guys let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on my first round mock draft? Do you disagree with my picks or do you agree with my picks? And if you do disagree, please let me know in the comment section below. Don't just type, oh, if you Metro, you made my team take so-and-so. Tell me why you don't like the pick, and maybe that can help me inform myself on why my pick is wrong. So please let me know in the comment section below. Again, hit the like and subscribe button, and I love you guys. Peace.